We're going to be talking about derivative rules for inverse trig functions. And it's really quite easy. All you have to do is, memorize some of these things. So, for example, suppose that you wanted the derivative for arcsine. All right? You may also see it as sine inverse, but we're going to call it arcsine. Well, the derivative of that arcsine is going to be 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared, where u is whatever function is inside the arcsine there. Okay? So that's what that is there. So there it is, u squared. And then you're going to, of course, apply the chain rule in that you multiply by the derivative of the inside. So that's where this du dx comes in. Alright? So I want you to notice that they're all pretty much like that. They all involve the u, which is the function that's on the inside, and then you're going to multiply by the derivative of whatever was inside that particular trig or inverse trig function. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at a few examples, and you should see that it's fairly easy. So for now, look at these rules, memorize them, but we're going to move on. We're going to look at the examples, and in the examples, I provided the particular rule that's associated with that problem. Okay, don't forget that all of the other rules for derivatives that we know so far are going to come into play. So remember, you're going to need to know chain rule, perhaps product rule. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so we're looking at the following example. Now, if you notice, at the top, I gave you the derivative the rule for the derivative of the inverse trig function arcsine. Okay, so let's take a look. It says find f prime of x, where f of x equals the arcsine of x cubed minus 1. Okay, well, that's fairly straightforward. Let's see here. Get my pen ready. And I have, let's see, 1 over the square root of 1 minus, well, what was u in this case? Well, this right here is my u. So I will put in parentheses x cubed minus 1 squared. Okay, I'm sorry that that's not very clear, but there it is. Alright, and then I'm going to multiply by the derivative of the inside. Well, the inside was x cubed minus 1, so the derivative of that, and I'll put that here, is going to be 3x squared. Okay, so my answer here, my final answer, will be 3x squared, because 3x squared times 1 is 3x squared, over the square root of 1 minus x cubed minus 1 squared. So here's my answer for this first example. Now let's take a look at the following example. So here we're going to be dealing with the arc cosine, and I want you to notice for a second that we've also got a product involved. So we're going to have to be dealing with a u, which is the x squared, and a v. Now I don't want you to confuse the u there with the u that's this right here inside. Okay, so this is, separate from the u that's right here. All right, but so don't get confused right there. So let's carry on. So let's see. I'm going to write out my u, and what is it? X squared, and my du, or my u prime, all right, will be 2x. Okay. Now I'm going to write my v, all right, and that is what? Well, that is the arc cosine of x squared plus x. Okay, and my v prime. And so I'm going to call that v prime, so let me go ahead and erase this right here. And I'm going to call that u prime, just so we don't get confused. Okay, v prime. Okay, so then I'm going to have here negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus and u squared, which in this case is going to be x squared plus x quantity squared, okay, and that's all under the square root, times, okay, the derivative of the inside, which in this case is going to be 2x plus 1. Okay? So there I have my u, my v, my u prime, and my v prime. Yes? And now I'm just going to put it all together using the product rule. So I'm going to have as an answer, and let me switch colors here. Okay. Switch colors so that I can see it a little more clearly. Okay, so remember or recall that the product rule is u v prime plus v u prime. Okay, so u v prime. Okay, x squared times negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared plus x quantity squared. Alright, times 2x plus 1 plus, and then we have v u prime, but in this case it's 2x times the arc cosine of x squared plus x. And that's my answer. So it's fairly easy now that I've figured that out, what it is that I have to do for these kind of problems. Okay, let's take a look at one more example, and I think that we should have enough information to be able to work on an assignment related to these problems. So let's take a look at one more example. Okay, this one is fairly easy. I really like these arctangent and arccotangent. They're really simple to do. So you'll find this one's very simple. So we look here, we've got arctangent of sine of theta. Okay, well, that's simple to do then, because the derivative here is going to be what? Well, it's going to be 1 over 1 plus sine squared of theta, because when I square my u, in this case, u is going to be sine, right? When I square that, I get sine squared. And then I have to multiply by the derivative of the inside. So the derivative of u, which is my du dx here, all right? The derivative of u, the derivative of sine is what? Okay, let's remember. Well, that is cosine. So multiplied by cosine of theta. So yes, you might see your answer a little bit simplified. You might see an answer that looks like this: cosine of theta over 1 plus sine squared of theta. Alright, so that right there would be your final answer for this last example.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.